Hi guys, so recently I just did this analysis for my client looking at Grand Dunman. So today I just want to share with you guys my thought process on how I actually analyze Grand Dunman and how it will fare in the resale market. So from this, we will actually look at Waterbank at Dakota and also Dakota residences to see how it actually fares in the resale market over there. And at the same time, I'll also be comparing with the upcoming TOP projects in D15, namely Continuum, Tembusu Grand, and the upcoming Emerald of Katong in 2029 later on. So stay tuned if you want to find out more. And after this video, if you found my analysis useful for you, you can actually reach out to me via WhatsApp at 84849302 if you actually want your own personalized consultation. So right now, Grand Dunman is running a promo and a discount of up to 100,000. So that's why my client was also looking at this development as well. And if you want to find out more, you can either scan the QR code or reach out to me via WhatsApp at 84849302. I'll be looking forward to hear from you guys. Alright, on to the video. So the first question that my client actually asked me, hey, why is Grand Dunman having discount? Does it mean that it's not selling well? If I buy it now, what's going to happen in the future? So actually, right, for SingHaiYi, the developer for Grand Dunman, they actually just wanted to move on with their inventory. Actually, if you look at Grand Dunman, majority of the units are only left with the bigger bedroom types and also the one bedders. Now, they are just trying to clear out their inventory in order to start for their next GLS at Bayshore there. So this one is also a 500 plus unit development. If you actually look at the prices also, it doesn't mean that the discount is going to be affecting the previous buyers. And in fact, right, if you see actually Grand Dunman, we have a total of 76% sold out of the 1008 units over here. So you can see majority of the units available, they are the 1 plus study over here and the 3-bedroom grand. The rest, right, actually very little units available already. We have still 4 bedders and 5 bedders left here. Actually, if you ask me, the discount is more on the bigger bedroom types, maybe the 5 bedders, not exactly on the smaller types because there already isn't much inventory over here at Grand Dunman. Okay, so for those of you that may be not so familiar with this Grand Dunman plot, right, I'll be sharing about the location and the master plan for what's to come over here. In the middle is Dakota MRT and then Grand Dunman is over here at this plot. Later on, I'll be comparing between these two resales, Waterbank at Dakota and Dakota residences. I just want to bring your attention to this area. In front, right, is actually this old army camp. Later on, I'll share a little bit more in detail for the master plan and also when was this actually vacated. But right now, you just need to understand these are the so-called 3 plots plus the vacant army camp that I'm going to be talking about for the first part of this video. So actually for this Glimak camp, right, it was already slated to exit in year 2022. So you can already see the government's direction where they are trying to clear up the land for future purposes. And just nice, right, when you look at the master plan itself. So over here, plot ratio of 3.5, this is Grand Dunman. And this 3.5 over here, this is the previous Glimak camp. The fact that they already cleared the land and this is not subject to planning. You know, some of the land plots, right, they always put subject to planning, all this. So when you have subject to future planning, that one usually will take longer to hit the GLS or future land bids. So over here, the government have already zoned this as a 3.5 residential plot ratio. If today you enter Grand Dunman, what are the chances that this upcoming plot, which is the former army camp, how much PSF they're going to launch at in the future? You can see just by the size, maybe we're looking at 1,005 unit development. That's a possibility. Or the government can even split this land into 2 plots. It really depends on what is the government plan. If they want to stagger it or they want to gradually go up. At least you can visualize if Grand Dunman you are buying along the facing of Dunman Road, already should expect the future development over here. Of course, it could be in 5 years time, not so fast. But over here on the other side, you'll be facing towards the landed. And then on the left side, you'll be facing towards the HDBs. Okay, so next up, I'll be talking more about the developer itself. I think maybe some of you might not know SingHaiYi that well. Past track record, right, for SingHaiYi. And they're involved in quite a few mega developments. So the first one, we have Park Clementi's over here in Clementi area and the total number of units was 1,468. Completion date was 2023. And if you guys actually want to know what is the workmanship and quality of this Park Clementi's development, you can go and take a look at the resale projects over there. I personally have a client that bought Park Clementi's, a smaller bedroom type, and I've been there before for resale viewing. It is a very beautiful development. It really makes you feel like you are at the Hard Rock Hotel like that, because the swimming pool really look like a very nice resort feel. And because this entire development is elevated, right, their level 2 starts at like level 5, level 6 one. So it really feels very premium, even though we are in the OCR region. So other than that, other mega developments we have Park Colonia, which is at Bidadari area, Woodleigh Mall, that side. Completion is 2021, 805 units. Next up, we have Grandeur Park. So this one is 722 units and is at Bedok area. Completion date 2020. Last but not least, the most recent one, we have High Park Residences. This is also another famous mega project. And we have 1,300 plus units at Fernvale area. And this was completed in 2019. So judging by SingHaiYi's strong past record for mega projects, I really think they do build very quality products and they know what is the main selling point for mega developments. I went to pull up the chart right for Park Colonia, Park Clementi's, Grandeur Park and High Park Residences just to see their price performance over the past few years and how it actually performed post-launch and even in the resale market. So first up, we have High Park Residences. From launch at 2015, right, all the way to today, about 10 years, they actually experienced a 61% in terms of capital appreciation. Grandeur Park, the yellow color one, from 2017 all the way to 2025, we experienced a 41% in terms of capital appreciation. Then next up, Park Clementi's, from 2019 all the way to 2025, we experienced 30% gains. Last but not least, Park Colonia. From 2018 all the way to 2025, we have 26% in terms of gains. So with all these 4 projects of at least more than 500 units, right, we do see SingHaiYi being able to do all these mega projects. And these are all projects that has already done well, even in the resale market, not just at the new launch. So I think this is all very important because sometimes maybe the developer, they build a very nice show flat, right? But in the end, if it doesn't perform in the resale market, then I think that defeats the purpose. This really shows the quality of the products for mega developments that SingHaiYi has built. When you look at certain developments, mega projects, not all of them perform as well as what we see over here. SingHaiYi, they probably understand the consumer market a little bit better and they also know what products people are actually looking out for. So these are the things that a good developer can do for you, especially when they are doing mega developments. Okay, so next up, I'm going to be comparing the land size and also the buyer profiles, right, for people looking at the Dakota area. Maybe they're aiming for Konghua or this. Okay, so first up, we have Waterbank at Dakota. So these are, although it is near Dakota area, right, it is classified under D14. So it's under Geylang and Eunos. Subtown is Aljunied. It is different from Grand Dunman, which is D15. And this project, TOP 2013, land size of 185,000. Total of 616 units. And over here, we can see, right, based on the residential status, we have a very strong 78% going to Singaporeans and about 14% to PR. The remaining 6%, we are looking at foreigners. And if you look at the previous purchaser address, only 36% comes from HDB and a majority 63% comes from private property address. The main target market, right, you're really not looking at HDB upgraders. This one really very close to what we see at District 15 already, even at this Dakota area. So next up, we have Dakota Residences over here. So same thing, this is also RCR, but this is under District 14, which is Geylang and Eunos, TOP 2010. So land size 124,000 square feet and total of 348 units. Over here, based on the residential status, we have 79% Singaporeans, 11% PR, and 8% foreigners. So very similar trend over here. Private address, we have 69%, and then about 30% comes from HDB. This area, right, you are really not targeting the HDB upgraders. And last but not least, we have Grand Dunman. So Grand Dunman already is 75% sold, and this is under day 15. TOP, even though on paper we are looking at 2028, but actually from the developer side, I think the progress of the construction is a little bit faster. So we are looking probably at 2027 Q1, but this is not confirmed yet. It's just a sensing we have from the developer side. Land size, we are looking at 271,000 square feet and total number of units 1008. So based on the buyer's residential status, actually now we are looking at even a stronger percentage of Singaporeans, 89% Singaporeans and 9.1% PR, 1% foreigners. So over here, same percentage. Private property, previous purchaser address, we are looking at about 65%. HDB address about 34%. Okay, so next up we have the price performance for these two resale development near Grand Dunman. So for Dakota residences, from 2008 all the way to 2025, we are looking at about 82% in terms of capital appreciation. Whereas for Waterbank at Dakota, 2010 all the way to 2025, you're looking at a 64% gain. So definitely these two developments, even though their land is smaller and it's a smaller size development, I think in terms of price performance, it is already very strong for this area. And also I went to go and do the price gap, right, for Waterbank at Dakota versus Dakota Residences when it first launched. You can see when Waterbank launched in 2010 over here, we actually have a gap of 7.4%, right, from the prices at Dakota Residences. When we are looking at, it's a 2-year age gap between Dakota Residences and Waterbank. But then of course, when it TOP, we are looking at almost a 3-year gap. So I think it's 2-year plus to 3-year difference between the TOP. And when we see Waterbank and Dakota versus Dakota Residences today, we are still looking at a 6% gap. So this gap, right, that time when it first launched versus today, it kind of still maintained this gap closely even after 15 years. And today, if we look at Grand Dunman versus Waterbank at Dakota in Q3 2023 when it first launched, we are looking at a 25% in terms of price gap. And then Grand Dunman versus Dakota Residences, we are looking at a 33% price gap. But we fast forward to today, right, 2025, actually Grand Dunman to Waterbank, the gap reduced. So it means that the resale performance over here is even stronger than how much the developer is increasing over at Grand Dunman. So when we compare the gaps between the resale versus the new launch development, right, when Dakota Residences and Waterbank, they actually had a 3-year gap and it was a 6% gap between these two launches at that time. Versus what we see at Waterbank versus Grand Dunman, a 14-year gap, right? But we're only looking at a 23% in terms of price gap. So imagine if actually we convert Waterbank at Dakota back to the today a fresh lease, right? Let's say if it TOPs also at 2027, I think it's going to be a lot more expensive than what we see at Grand Dunman based on $2,500 per square feet. Okay, so next up, I'm going to be comparing between these three developments for the site plan and also the 4-bedroom facings. So why I'm covering mainly on the 4-bedroom today is because my client just nice was looking at 4 bedrooms here. If you are looking at maybe the smaller bedrooms or 5-bedroom types, you can also feel free to WhatsApp me at 84849302 so that I can do a detailed comparison for you and also the resale over there. Okay, so just a refresher. So this Dakota Residences, Waterbank at Dakota and Grand Dunman, we'll be comparing the site plan and also the facings for the 4-bedders. Okay, so first up, we have Dakota Residences. So you can see over here, this is the site plan for the entire project. And those that I circle in red color, these are the 4 bedrooms. So you can see all the 4 bedrooms, right? They are actually facing towards the landed that side and the river side lah. West sun will be coming over from this side. So all these units, right, other than this side for stack 8, the rest don't have west sun at all. Yeah, majority of them are actually facing southeast facing. So actually when we look at this site plan, right, you already can tell that it has limited facilities. I think partially is due to the limited land size, and also they have a lot of buildings rather than having a higher building. So over here, definitely the facilities not as grand as what we see at Grand Dunman. We have Waterbank at Dakota. So there is only two of these 4-bedroom layout types that I'm going to talk about, and these also are facing the landed side. And also, if you look at the map, it is facing the Eaton House International. The developer very smart because it's directly facing the school, right? They actually make these two stacks facing diagonally towards the landed side. You won't really see the childcare at school lah. These two stacks, right, they totally don't have any west sun facing also, and it's facing towards the river side. All these things you need to know, right? If you entering the 4-bedroom in today's Grand Dunman, you need to know what stands out in the resale market and what is your unique selling point. Okay, so now moving on to Grand Dunman. So over here, I also have circled all the 4-bedroom stacks. This is the HDB facing side, landed facing side, landed facing side, and then this side is the road facing and the future residential plot. We see stack 2, stack 4. This is part of the grand block at block 2. Stack 17 over here. Stack 56. Stack 44. And last but not least, stack 32. I only include all the available 4-bedroom stacks. So there is already a few 4-bedroom stacks that is fully sold out. So I won't be covering those circled. So main thing is I just want to talk on the available units. Now I'll be comparing on the resale 4-bedrooms, right? Waterbank and Dakota residences in terms of layout and in terms of prices. We have the Grand Dunman's 4-bedder. This is at 1292 square feet, listed at 3.284 million. PSF 2542. So I think definitely this is quite a good size, and in terms of PSF is quite attractive because this is right beside Dakota MRT and within 1 km of Gonghua. Based on the supply, we are looking at only 121 4-bedroom types out of 1008 units. And the 4 bedrooms range from 1292 to 2000 plus square feet. So right here, I'm using the smallest 4-bedroom because I think this is a very attractive entry price, especially if you're in the new launch market. You already know that how much are all these 4-bedders asking. And we only have 2 stacks available for this 1292 square feet unit, stack 17 and stack 57. So when we zoom in to the site plan itself, you can see over here stack 17 and stack 57. And why do I say stack 57, right? It's a much worse facing than stack 17. You can see how near it is to the other block 2, and majority of the unit, you really look into stack 5 over here. So I will feel your view, majority it will be quite blocked. And at the same time, you will have the west sun from over here. Whereas for stack 17, at least you manage to clear majority of this grand block. And at the same time, you still get a little bit of west sun, but in the end, your view is still a lot better. But that being said, even though stack 57 is not as desirable, it's still fully sold out already. So even if you don't want this stack 57, there's nothing for you to even buy over here. You can only consider units available at stack 17. Okay, so next up we have the bigger Grand Dunman 4-bedroom types. So this one is 1432 square feet and at 3.6 million, PSF 2523. So you can see over here the main difference we have is the private lift. Later I will share with you the comparisons between these two layouts, but just do take note, the main difference here is the private lift and the private lift lobby. So same thing over here, 121 units for the 4 bedrooms out of 1008. And that one is the 4-bedroom range of sizes. So this one is the next smallest one already after 1292. And this is at 1432 square feet. And there is only 3 stacks available, 32, 44, and 56. When we zoom into the site plan, over here we have stack 56, 44, and 32. So of course 32, right, it will be closer towards the main road over here. But in the end, if you look closely, it's still facing towards the river side. And 44 as well. 44 definitely a little bit more premium over 32. So the price also will signal a higher premium. And then last but not least, the most premium one for this particular layout type, we have Stack 56. So this one is the most expensive one and also is facing towards the landed side. Okay, so now we have these two layout types side by side and we have a total of 140 square feet difference. And main thing I just want to highlight is for the 1292 square feet one, right? The foyer is a little bit less efficient. They have an L shape over here, but you at least have the additional privacy for the 4-bedders. But when we look at the slightly bigger 4-bedroom, right, you can see their foyer area, because is part of the kitchen itself, they don't really have to do the L shape in order to ensure the privacy. Other than that, the 140 square feet also goes into the private lift lobby. So the private lift itself, it doesn't count into the total square feet, but the private lift lobby does. And on top of that, we also have an additional dry kitchen area over here. And one main difference between these two layouts is actually the width of the living room and the dining room area. Yeah, so that's why when you go to the show flat, you see when you look at the grand layout types with the private lift, right, you really can feel the difference in the width of the living room. It really feels a lot bigger. And also, I know that a lot of people, they actually prefer the dry kitchen concept, because if you see the other 4-bedroom type, right, actually it feels a little bit less luxurious because the kitchen is not as big, and also the dining and the living room area, right, doesn't have that kind of big width. Then now when we look at Dakota Residence's 4-bedroom, this is a 1830 square feet landscape living room. So over here we also have 4 stacks, total of 104 units for this layout type. 7, 10, 9 and 14. So just now, as I mentioned earlier, it's all towards the landed facing. So definitely this layout, right, I think it's very, very solid also. Just main thing is the bay windows over here, which I have all circled, and also the planter box in the balcony area. And on top of that, I think the kitchen is quite similar size to what we see at Grand Dunman for the smaller 4-bedrooms. Of course, for the Grand Dunman's bigger 4-bedroom, the kitchen definitely lose in terms of size. So I think in terms of actual size, if you take 1830, you minus all these bay window, and then you minus this second balcony with the planter box over here, right? Maybe we can come in at a size closer to what we see at the grand layout types for Grand Dunman. So that's why I do think for the units at Grand Dunman, you are still able to stand out even if your unit is slightly smaller. Okay, so this is the Dakota Residences transactions. You can see in the past 1 year, actually it's quite healthy. We have a total of 5 transactions, and the most recent one we have is in March 2025. So this is a 18th floor unit and the size is 1830 square feet, 2022 PSF and a quantum of 3.7 million. So right now for the current listings on sale, we have 3 units available. So both of these, bigger one 3.6k square feet, we are listed at 7 million each. And then for this 1830 square feet one, we are listed at 3.8 million. So that's why when I see all these numbers, right, I'm not surprised that units at Grand Dunman actually start to move, and over here the units maybe get stuck, because if you're looking at 4-bedder in this Dakota area, right, does it make sense to go for this older development at Dakota Residences where you still might have to spend a little bit on renovation, not so efficient layout type, rather than you just get something brand new at Grand Dunman? So definitely buyers are looking around and comparing their choices. But of course, over here you can straight away shift in. You don't have to wait for about 2 years until Grand Dunman actually DOPs. Okay, so next up, this is the Waterbank at Dakota's 4-bedroom layout. So this one, they have 2 stacks of 1572 square feet units, stack 17 and stack 20, total of 37 units only. So very, very low supply over here as well. And actually, when I look at this layout, I have nothing to complain because this is fantastic. And you can see over here the balcony along with the landscape layout for the living room area. Really very nice and very efficient for the foyer area. They, instead of doing straight up, right, you can just the other corner side. So as a result, they don't have to waste space doing an L shape for the privacy purpose. And you have a utility, dry kitchen, normal kitchen area. So definitely this is a very, very good 4-bedder layout type. And I can foresee if today you buy Grand Dunman and you want to look to sell in the future, this layout type definitely will be your main competitor. And next up, we have Waterbank at Dakota's 4-bedroom transactions. So over the past 1 year, you can see there has only been one transaction, October 2024, 1572 square feet at 2116 PSF. So the quantum came up to 3.3 million. Current listings for sale, 4-bedroom types, we have two, 1572 square feet and 1981. So the PSF for 15721 is 2258 PSF and a quantum of 3.55 million. 1981 square feet, asking at 2000 PSF, 3.98 million. So with all these prices, right, I'm also not surprised that buyers actually compare, then might as well I go for a newer development like Grand Dunman, because if this is already what is happening for the 4-bedders over here in the resale market, and on top of that, I still need to spend maybe about 200k to 300k in terms of renovation, might as well I just pay the premium or even at the same price as what I can get at Grand Dunman. But of course, you have to factor in rental for the 2-year period lah. But of course, if you're buying straight away as your first home, then definitely the rental won't be a factor over here. I have the 4 layouts that I compared just now, right? So I put it all together for a side-by-side comparison, okay? And you can see for Grand Dunman's, this 1317, as of recording, it is still available, but maybe by the time, because the units over here are moving pretty fast, maybe it's not available already by the time I post this video. Okay, so do take note. So this 13th floor unit, asking at 3.384 million, 2619 PSF. And for the Grand Dunman Grand unit, 04-32, 1432 square feet at 3.6 million, PSF 2523 PSF. Actually, when you compare to the other two resale developments, Dakota Residences and Waterbank at Dakota, I really think that for this grand layout, doesn't really lose out to these two developments. And at the same time, the unique selling point that it will have is the private lift over here. So later on, I also will share the comparison with the other new launches that is coming up to TOP from 2027 to 2029. But as of right now, for the Dakota MRT 500 meters radius, right, there is really not a 4-bedroom with private lift. So if you are looking in terms of unique selling point and quantum, right, I really think it's already accepted in this area. So right now it's just more of looking at a newer development and what is your unique selling point. Okay, so over here I have the adjustment of PSF by the TOP year. So just now you already all see the Dakota Residences, the Waterbank transactions, and then now I'm just taking this cheapest Stack 17 unit, which is the ground floor, 3.284 million, just for comparison. And then this is the other one just now, the 04-32. So main thing to highlight from here is that the quantum has already been accepted in this area. Now we look at the price gap for the resale itself first. So why this is important to look at, because I think when we compare directly to the new launch, right, if we don't have a basis of comparison, we don't really know what is the benchmark. So Dakota Residences versus Waterbank at Dakota, we are looking at 3-year gap. So in terms of PSF, we are looking at $94 per square feet. And if we divide it by the PSF gap per year, we are looking at about $31, $32 per year. Then now we look at the gap from Grand Dunman to Dakota Residences. So this is a 17-year gap. PSF, if we just minus about $520 PSF gap. And then if we divide it by per year, actually we are only looking at $30 to $31 PSF gap per year. So this is actually cheaper than the resale gap. Second comparison we have for the gap from Grand Dunman, 14-year gap for Waterbank at Dakota, we are looking at 2542 minus 2116. So this is a 426 PSF gap over 14 years. So when we divide it by per year, we are looking at $30 range. At the same time, we also know that it's cheaper than resale. But of course, this is for the low floor units at Grand Dunman. But the main thing you want to take away from this is that we are paying almost a very close price gap, right, for the between the two resales at Dakota area versus Grand Dunman. So if you really feel this is maybe Grand Dunman is expensive, all these when we look at the PSF gap per year, actually it doesn't mean that you are overpaying. It's just that Grand Dunman is really just newer in terms of the PSF. So that's why you're paying a premium for the age gap, not in terms of the development itself. Okay, so now I'll be covering on the demand and supply for this area itself. So over here you can see my search criteria, right, is actually within 500 meters of Dakota MRT, within 1 year transactions, 4 bedrooms, and any TOP up to 2025. So this will exclude all the new launches. And then you can see over here 3 projects with 8 transactions, and then 3 resale projects with 6 listings. So it means that the ratio for the transactions is to listings is quite healthy. And main thing is also Quantum has been accepted in this area. So when you look at the map itself, right, I don't really want to take these 3 developments as the main comparison, because in the end they are quite far away from Dakota MRT. The main thing I want to compare mainly is Waterbank at Dakota and Dakota Residences towards Grand Dunman this side. And even this one also is a bit too far out already. And we can see the 4-bedroom units actually is still being sold at Grand Dunman, Continuum, Tembusu Grand, and Emerald of Katong. But the resale listings here is still very healthy. We are looking at a ratio of more than 1. Yeah, so overall, I still feel like the resale market will still perform very well, even if there's upcoming new launches over here in the Dunman area. Okay, so next up we have the nearby TOP projects comparison. So this one will be coming from Continuum, Tembusu Grand, and EOK. So Continuum and Tembusu Grand, right, they will both TOP same time with Grand Dunman in about 2027, whereas EOK will be slightly later, looking at 2029 period. When we look at the map itself, Grand Dunman is over here, Continuum is over here, Tembusu Grand and Emerald of Katong. They are still within the same district, but they are not exactly near each other. And Continuum, right, when you look at the map itself, the nearest MRT is still Dakota MRT. So in terms of, let's say, when you buy a unit, when you want to rent out all that, when you look at the Grand Dunman and Continuum, right, imagine if you're a tenant looking at these 2 developments, I would think most tenants will actually go for Grand Dunman over Continuum simply because of the proximity towards the MRT. And at the same time, when you compare, you are looking for a 4-bedder, right? You must think for 4-bedders, usually it is a multi-generational property. If let's say, even if they drive, their kids might not be driving. Proximity to public transport like MRT and buses is very important, especially for all these bigger family types. So I would think Grand Dunman has a significant advantage over Continuum and Tembusu Grand and EOK also, because Tembusu Grand and EOK is not that near MRT as well. Okay, so now this is the site plan for Grand Dunman. You can see over here, these are all the different square feet types for the 4-bedders, and all these purple color ones are the stacks for the 4-bedroom in Grand Dunman . And on top of that, over here I also have the pricing from 3.2 million to upwards of 4 million plus. So if you want to find out more about what we have at Grand Dunman, you can feel free to reach out to me at 84849302. Okay, so now this is the recent Grand Dunman 4-bedroom transactions. So you can see for the past 1 year, the low we are looking at is 3 million plus at 2,200 PSF for ground floor. Then up to the highs, we have 4.47 million at 2.6k PSF. And of course, in April itself, we actually have about 14 units being sold already. And this includes not just the 4-bedders, but 2-bedders, 3-bedders also. I do know that the units at Grand Dunman is moving, and even though now we are in the middle of April, there is a couple of 4-bedders also already being transacted. The caveat hasn't been lodged yet, so that's why it hasn't appeared here in the transactions. Okay, so now this is the 4-bedroom comparison for Grand Dunman. Like I said just now, I don't want to drag on too much. Main thing here is the private lift, wider living room, and the dry kitchen area. Okay, so next up we have Continuum. So over here, these are all the different types of 4-bedders we have at Continuum. The purple color ones are all the facings for the stacks 4-bedroom types at Continuum also. So I think main thing about Continuum is that they have this middle part, right, which is separated. This is a road, and then they have a bridge connecting both sides of the development. So this one really depends on individual. Some people, they don't like it. Some people, they feel like it's a very unique feature of Continuum. Prices to compare. So you can see the cheapest unit at Grand Dunman versus Continuum, right? Even though Grand Dunman unit is about 20 square feet bigger, we are looking at a price gap of about 300,000 already. And the PSF here is significantly higher at 2787 PSF. For the 1690 square feet units, we even have units up to 4.8 million. And right here, we have the 4 bedrooms transaction at Continuum. Seeing all these numbers, right, actually really gives me and my buyer a lot of confidence, because this is what has been accepted in this D15 area for a freehold project. So for the low, right, we are looking at 3.3 million at 2,600 PSF, and we have a high of 5 million plus at $3,000 PSF. And you can see over here for the 4 bedroom types, right, for the units transacting in the 1,002 square feet range, we have transactions from 3.3 million all the way to 3.8 million range. So that's why I really look at Grand Dunman. I do feel like we are looking at a very safe entry price and buffer. Although we are not a freehold development, we do have qualities that is slightly better than Continuum in terms of MRT and Continuum's 4 bedroom layout type. I'll be focusing on the cheapest layout type and also the one with the private lift. So the cheapest one, 1270 square feet at 3.539 million, has no private lift. So this is going to be quite comparable to the 1292 square feet at Grand Dunman. And I think quite standard 4 bedroom types, and then there's a yard, there's a dry kitchen over here. And you still got the L-shaped foyer. I definitely think this L-shaped foyer is slightly longer than what we see for the Grand Dunman one. Next up, we have the 1690 square feet layout type with the private lift. So this one, the cheapest one we are looking at is 4.35 million. So for those of you looking only at private lift, right, you see the layout is a little bit unique because the balcony, right, it doesn't drag the entire living room area, because I think it's a very big layout already, 1690, and then over here private lift. Other than that, right, I think some people might not like that the private lift is in the middle over here, because you do kind of make the area have longer walkways, but I think they maximize the space very well. And over here is the yard area service lift entrance. So definitely when we look at private lift, Grand Dunman, they actually offer a product that is well within the $3 million budget range, and it can still have a private lift. So I think that one will be really a unique selling point, right, for the 4 bedders in years to come. Okay, so next up we have Tembusu Grand. So they also have 2 4-bedroom layout types, 1432 and 1604. And the stacks are 10, 7, 2, and 31. So over here, these are the cheapest units available at Tembusu Grand right now. Both of them are the top floor units, and they have the void space, the high ceiling. So that's why it's at 1604 square feet. And the quantum we are looking at is about 3.7 million. So these are the transactions for Tembusu Grand's 4-bedder. We are looking at mostly at 1004 square feet because these are not the penthouse units. And the PSF range is from 2002 all the way to 2005 for the recent transactions. And the quantum we are looking at is between 3.2 million all the way up to 3.5 million. As for the lows, we have 3.288 million at 2290 PSF. The highs, you are looking at 3.677 million, 2503 PSF. Okay, so this is the Tembusu Grand's 4-bedroom layout type. I think it's really a very solid layout at 1432 square feet. I don't really have much to comment on this layout because I think CDL, they know what product it works in the market, they know what they are doing. The main thing here I want to highlight is that there isn't a private lift over here. So that's why I really think if you have a private lift, especially for 4-bedders around the new launches that is coming up for 2027 to 2029 period, right, I think you will really be able to stand out, especially in D15 area. Okay, last but not least, we have Emerald of Katong. So over here, these are all the 4-bedroom layout types. The ones in purple are the stacks for the 4 bedrooms. 31, 34, 40, 24, 17, 14, 13, and 3. So this is the Emerald of Katong's 4-bedroom transacted, and do take note that this is a harmonized project, so the PSF you have to adjust downwards a little bit. And majority of them we see is in the 3 million to the high 2 million range. So for here, the lowest transaction we have, right, at 2.749 million at 2387 PSF. The highest we are looking at is 3.5 million, 2704 PSF. So do take note now, this 2.7 million one, right, they are very small 4-bedders. This one really you have to also see the sizes, then you compare which one is the nearest unit types. because the square feet even for the 4-bedder, the range is quite big. So these are just some of the layouts we have for the Emerald of Katong's 4-bedroom. I won't be putting all the layouts here. You can see this is the 1259 square feet, 1152 square feet, 1302 square feet. So all these, definitely Simlian has a very good grasp of the layout types and what will perform in the resale market. So all these layouts definitely are all very efficient and well thought out. I just want to touch on the main thing is only the 5 bedrooms over here at Emerald of Katong have private lift, and this is at 1561 square feet. Harmonize, And over here, if we just look at the supply for the 4-bedroom types, right? 4 bedrooms, 84 units, 4 plus study, 74. The main thing here is we have very limited units. Even if the units they manage to get in at a decent quantum or PSF, there will be also a very low supply in the resale market. You guys remember, if you follow the new launch market from last year onwards, right? You know how crazy Emerald of Katong was at the launch day itself. Before the launch, the VVIP sales was already quite crazy. If EOK, they managed to achieve a low pricing even at the resale market when it TOP, right? I would imagine the same thing happening again. So a lot of buyers definitely will still be snapping up units even in the resale market until a price equilibrium will be achieved. Don't think that, oh, because Emerald of Katong, the buyers got it cheap there, they will be selling cheap. I don't think so. Very likely owners there won't be selling it cheap, and majority of them actually are buying for own stay, especially for the 4-bedders. Yeah, so I don't really think there will be much 4-bedroom new supply, especially in the D15 area. Alright, if you like my video so far, do feel free to leave a like and subscribe. And at the same time, you can look at my channel for the other videos that I've done because I'll be doing similar analysis also. If you yourself are looking at units at Grand Dunman or even units at D15 in the resale market or even in the new launch market, you can feel free to contact me at 84849302. Because for me, this is the minimum I would think a client needs in order to make an informed decision, especially when we have so much uncertainty in today's market. And if you want to work out your finances, your timeline, and also what are your choices you have at your current budget range, feel free to reach out to me because I'm sure for everyone you have your own unique situation that will have different requirements. So I'm looking forward to hear from you guys. Thank you. Bye.